I'm 67, I'm American, and I live like a king in Hervey Bay, Queensland, on $1,500 a month. That's right around $1,000 US. And today, I'm opening my entire month on the table, line by line. Before I lay it all on the table, do me one quick favor, subscribe and hit that like. It honestly keeps us in touch out here. All right, let me set the scene for you. It's early, and the cockatoos are going at it in the gum tree over my driveway, screeching like somebody stepped on them every single morning, and I've grown to love that racket. The utes parked out front. My coffee's cooling on the porch rail, and the water, the actual Pacific, the beach, the esplanade, is a 5-minute walk down the road. Not a drive, a walk. And $1,500 a month covers all of it. The roof, the power, the food, the fish, a little indulgence I'll get to, about $1,000 US. That's the whole show. Now, I know exactly what a lot of you are thinking, because I thought it too. There's no way that's enough. So let me take you somewhere with me for a second. Back to a cold kitchen table in the States, 4 years ago. Gray light coming through the window. Snow that had been on the ground so long it wasn't even white anymore. And a little stack of bills sitting there in front of me. The cable bill, the property tax notice that one climbed every single year, never once went down, never once asked my permission. The heating bill in winter that made me flinch before I opened it, and underneath all of it, this quiet little worry that wouldn't leave me alone. My Social Security check. Was it really going to stretch? Was I going to spend my best years doing math I didn't want to do? If you've ever done that math at your own kitchen table and come up short, stay right here because the number surprised me too. So here's the honest tension, and I'm not going to dress it up. How does a man live better here on less than he spent just existing back home, not scraping by? Better. That doesn't sound like it should be possible, and yet here I am. So let me stop talking around it and just read it to you, the way I read my own bank statement, nice and slow, one line at a time. We start with the big one, rent. $850 a month. That's about $560 US. For a tidy little 2-bedroom unit, a short walk from the esplanade close enough that I can smell the salt on the breeze from my own kitchen, $560. My place back in the States was smaller, colder, further from anything I actually wanted, and it cost me more than double that. More than double for less. Now, I can already hear the question, because I asked it myself before I came. How on earth do you find rent that cheap this close to the water? And the honest answer is, it took me a while to figure out. The first year, I made the same mistakes everybody makes. I looked in the wrong towns, at the wrong time of year, through the wrong websites, and I paid for it. And that's exactly why I finally sat down and wrote everything out. The rent tricks, the visa steps, the healthcare setup, all the little things nobody hands you when you're staring at a cold kitchen table back home. I put every bit of it into my guide, one-way guide. Which town to pick and which to skip, how to land a place near the water without overpaying, the paperwork nobody explains, it's the shortcut I genuinely wish I'd had my first year. If that's the piece you've been missing, scan the code on the screen or find the link down in the description. Okay, back to the receipt, because it only gets better from here. Electricity. In the warm months, and up here, most of them are warm, my power runs about $90 a month. 90. You want to know what that is to me? That's less than my old cable bill. Just the cable. Not the internet, not the phone, just the television I barely watched sitting there in the snow, costing me more than it costs to keep the lights and the fans running in a Queensland summer. Every time that bill lands, I still shake my head a little. Water's next, about $35 a month. 35. That's a nice dinner out, once, and it covers a whole month of water showers, the kitchen, rinsing the salt off my feet when I come back up from the beach. Internet. $70 a month, and it's good, fast internet, the kind that lets me video call my grandkids back in the States without the picture freezing on somebody's mid-sentence face. 70. So, let's be honest and add up what we've got so far. No fudging. Rent, $850. Power, $90. Water, $35. Internet, $70. That's a roof over my head, cool air, running water, and a line to the whole world, a little over $1,040 Australian dollars a month, all in. The roof and the bills basically handled. And I've still got room left inside that $1,500. Now, this is the part where the folks back home lean in and get skeptical, and I don't blame them because it's the one line everybody swears is going to sink me. Not the rent, not the power. Food. A whole month of eating, and not eating sad, mind you, eating well, fresh fish, good meat, living right there on the water where you'd assume it all costs a fortune. So the roof and the bills are already spoken for, but the line everyone back home is certain will break me is food. A whole month of eating on the water. Wait till you hear what that really runs. Food. A whole month of eating well right on the water, and here's what actually lands on my grocery slip, around $320 Australian dollars a month. That's a little over $200 US. And I'll show you exactly why it's that low. Because when I first say that number, folks think I'm skipping meals. I'm not. I eat like a king out here. Here's the secret, and it's got nothing to do with coupons. It's where I live. Hervey Bay sits right on the water and the fish comes off the boat. Not out of a freezer case wrapped in plastic. Off the boat. There's a fella down at the marina who ties up most mornings, and you can buy the catch straight from him while it's still cold and glistening. Whiting, snapper, a bit of flathead if the day's been kind. I'll get enough good fish for the week for the price of one sad little supermarket fillet back home. That's real food, caught that morning, a 5-minute walk from where I'm standing right now, and then there's Friday night at the RSL. Now, the RSL is the Returned and Services League Club, and every town out here has one. It's where folks gather, have a cheap dinner, and on Friday nights, they run the meat tray raffle. You buy a little ticket for a couple of dollars, and if your number comes up, you walk out with a tray of good steak, sausages, lamb chops, enough to fill your freezer for a week. I've won it 3 times in 4 years. Cost me almost nothing, and it's the best evening in town. The room's full, everybody knows everybody, somebody's telling a story too loud in the corner, and the cockatoos are settling into the gum trees outside as the sun goes down. That's my Friday. Try to price that. So picture your own weekly shop for a second. Now knock the fish and the meat clean off the top of it. That's the difference right there. Back in the States, the meat and the seafood were the 2 lines that hurt the most every single week. Out here, one comes off a boat and the other comes off a raffle ticket. What's left on my list is small stuff. Bread, eggs, coffee, some fruit and veg, a few odds and ends. $320 a month, and I promise you, I'm not going without. Next line, transport. This one's going to make you smile. About $60 Australian dollars a month, around $40 US, and most months it's even less. Why so low? Because I walk almost everywhere. Hervey Bay is flat as a table, and the water is close. That same 5-minute stroll down the esplanade I keep telling you about. I've got the ute sitting in the driveway for the big shop, or a drive out of town, but day to day, I'm on my own 2 feet. Down to the marina, over to the club, along the waterfront in the morning while it's still cool. $60 covers a bit of fuel, and that's about the whole story. Back home, I was putting more than that in the tank in a single week, just to get to the grocery store and back. Here, the car mostly sits and waits. Let me hold those 2 up next to their American twins, because this is where the gap gets almost comical. My old grocery bill in the States, with the meat and fish that wrecked it every week, ran me the better part of $600 a month for one man. Here, I'm at $320 Australian and eating better. And transport? My old commute and errands ate $250 a month easy once you counted the fuel and the wear on the car. Here it's $60. Every line I open up, that same gap keeps widening in my favor. And I haven't even gotten to the good part yet. Now, I told you this life is neighborly, and I want you to meet the man who proves it. Trevor. He lives one fence over, and he wears this sun-faded Akubra hat, the classic Australian bush hat, so worn from the Queensland sun, it's gone almost pale at the crown. Trevor's been here his whole life. First week I moved in, I was out the back trying to figure out my new patch of grass, and he leaned right over the fence, looked at me with this easy grin, and said, "Mate, You'll never want to leave. 4 years on, I think about that line all the time. Because he was dead right, we swap vegetables over that fence. He tells me which day the fish are running best down at the marina. When my ute wouldn't start last winter, he was over with jumper cables before I'd even finished my coffee. That's not something you can put on a receipt, but it's worth more than any of the numbers I'm reading you. You come out here and you're not landing alone. There's a Trevor waiting on the other side of some fence for every single one of you. So let's take stock. The roof, the power, the water, the internet, the food, the getting around. All of it spoken for, and every line lands lighter than what I paid just to exist back home. It's starting to feel real now, isn't it? Like maybe the arithmetic actually works. 1,500 Australian dollars a month. Right around 1,000 US. And so far, every number is behaving. But I know what you're thinking. Because I thought it too, sitting at that cold kitchen table with the snow coming down. There's one line I haven't touched yet. One bill. And it's the one that made me lie awake at night before I ever booked the flight. Now here's the line that stopped me cold before I ever got on the plane. The one every single person back home warned me about. Healthcare. Everybody back home is convinced it's the one bill that ruins the whole thing out here, the number that would eat my check alive. You get sick in a strange country with no employer plan, they told me, and you'll be wiped out. So let me put the real figure on the table and tell you about the morning a good buddy of mine ended up in a hospital. Because what happened next is exactly the opposite of what you're bracing for. Healthcare, the bill everyone swears will eat your check alive. Here's the real number. Private cover on top of Medicare runs me about 140 Australian dollars a month. And let me tell you about the morning my buddy Dave needed a hospital and walked out without a bill that ruined him. Dave's from Ohio, same as a lot of us out here. Last winter his chest started acting up one morning and his wife drove him straight to the hospital up the coast. He was in a bed inside 20 minutes. They looked after him, ran the tests, kept him overnight, sent him home the next day feeling right as rain. And here's the part that still gets me. When he got home, he sat at his kitchen table and waited for the letter. You know the one. The envelope back in the States that makes your stomach drop before you even open it. It never came. Not because he got lucky. Because between Medicare here and his private cover, the thing was handled. That's $140 a month. Back home, my supplemental plan alone was more than $400. And I still brace myself every single time I walked into a doctor's office. Here I don't brace. That's the difference, and you can't put a price on that feeling. So let me be straight with you, the way I promised I would be. Healthcare is the real friction spot. It's the line that makes people nervous, and I'm not going to pretend it's free, but it's a whole lot smaller than the monster everybody pictures from a cold kitchen table back home. Plan it once, pick your cover, and it just quietly does its job every month. That's it. That's the whole scary part, sorted over a cup of coffee. Same goes for the paperwork that gets you here in the first place. I know the visa keeps a lot of folks up at night. The Investor Retirement Visa, Subclass 405 and 410, and the long-term alternatives that go with it, it sounds like a wall when you first read about it. It isn't. It's a small assignment. Do your homework up front. Get your ducks in a row, and it goes through. And the renewals after that? I've done mine sitting right here on this porch, coffee in hand, cockatoos screeching in the gum tree while I filled in the form. No drama. No sleepless nights. Now, before I add it all up, there's one line I refuse to cut. Every man's got one, and this one's mine. Every week I walk down to the marina, get myself a proper flat white and a basket of fish and chips, and I sit there watching the boats come in with the salt on the breeze. About 25 Australian dollars a week for that little ritual. I could trim it. I won't. A man's got to live like a king somewhere, and that's my throne. All right, here's what you came for. Grab a pen if you've got one. I want you doing this math right along with me. We're going to lay the whole month on the table, line by line, the way I read my own bank statement. Rent, first. $850 a month for a tidy 2-bedroom, a 5-minute walk from the Esplanade. Power in the warm months, about $90. Water, $35. Internet, $70. Groceries, $320. And that's eating well, fish off the boat, and the meat tray raffle at the RSL on a Friday night. Transport, $60. Because I walk most everywhere and this town is flat as a tabletop. Healthcare, $140. And that indulgence at the marina, call it $100 a month. Add it up. $850 plus $90 plus $35 plus $70 plus $320 plus $60 plus $140 plus $100. That lands you right at 1,500 Australian dollars. About 1,000 US, right on the number I promised you in my very first breath. And now, let me hold 4 of those lines up next to their American twins, so you see the gap with your own eyes. That rent, $850 here, about $560 US, my smaller place back home, ran me over $1,200, and it faced a parking lot, not the Pacific. The power bill, $90 here. I paid nearly triple that just to survive a gray January. My health cover, $140 against the $400 plus I white-knuckled back home. And groceries, $320 a month here, eating fish that was swimming that morning for less than I spent on a picked-over cart at the store in the States. That's not a metaphor. That's not me telling you my money feels bigger out here. That's the arithmetic, line by line, and it lands where I said it would. So here's the total one more time, and then I'll let you sit with it. $1,500 a month. 1,000 US, that's the whole life. The 2-bedroom near the water, the power and the internet, a full pantry, a doctor I don't fear, and a fish and chips lunch by the marina every single week. Now, run your own number. What would your check need to cover? I'd bet it's closer than you ever let yourself believe. Sit down with your Social Security statement tonight and put your rent, your power, your groceries in one column and put my column right beside it. Don't take my word for it. Do the math yourself. That's the only thing that'll ever really convince you, and it's the same math that convinced me 4 years ago. Because that's the secret, and it isn't much of a secret once you say it out loud. This life isn't luck. I didn't win anything. I didn't inherit anything. I sat down, I did the homework, and I had the nerve to pick the right town, a quiet coastal spot in Queensland, where 1,000 US dollars stretches out and puts its feet up. It's 4 o'clock now as I sit here. The sun's still warm on my arms, the salt's coming off the Pacific, and in a little while, those same cockatoos will start up their evening racket in the gum tree. The water's 5 minutes down the road if I feel like it. And I'm not spending $1 more than $1,500 to have all of it. You can have it too. It's arithmetic, a little homework, and the nerve to choose. That's all it ever was. So pour yourself another coffee, run your own number tonight, and I think you'll find the same thing. I found this dream you've been carrying around isn't out of reach at all. It's just sitting there, waiting on you to do the math. And when you do, I'll be right here on the porch, ready to tell you how it went for me on the rest of it.